Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Boffone with Dear Dr. Boffone, the new YouTube series that I'm starting, which is me answering your questions. Your Q's, my A's. So whatever you want to know, whatever you're struggling with, whatever things that you think that I might be able to help with, advice, I'm here for it. Dating advice, advice about things to do at school, how to avoid certain situations, how to talk to people, whatever it might be, whatever you're wondering, I'm here to help. But this relies on you guys, right? So I need you to be sending me questions, DMing me, email, those sorts of things with whatever you want me to answer. Okay, so let's jump into it. We got episode 1 right now. So our first question comes from one of my followers who is struggling with something that some of my students are recently struggling with, something that I've went through as well. Dear Dr. Boffone, you said that you lost your dad at some point and that you felt really bad for quite some time. I just wanted to ask how you got back up after losing your dad. My dad passed away last month and I've been staying positive, but I feel like I'm masking all of my emotions. Do you have any advice as to how I can sort it out and get back up because it's been really hard? So first of all, I see you. Thank you for sharing this with me. I know this is not easy to share, and so I really appreciate people who are willing to open up and seek help and seek advice. And so for me, if you didn't know, last August, so August 2018, right before school started, my dad died unexpectedly, and it really was the lowest point of my life. I started school burnt out. I was always tired. I woke up tired. And I'm a morning person, so that was kind of strange for me. I was behind on everything. I was apathetic about work, about friendships, about doing anything. And I just cried all the time. And I'm not really a crier, so it was a really difficult period for me. And I was going through a lot of emotions I didn't, had not previously experienced, right? And I think overall, nothing can really prepare you for losing a parent, right? Whether it's a parent that has, say, terminal cancer that you expect to be passing, or something that happens unexpectedly, right? We can't really prepare for how we're going to react to these things. And so I've learned a lot. And so for me, what really helped me, I mean, first of all, as time goes by, it gets better. It gets easier. It doesn't mean it's always easy or it's always better, but it does get easier, right? So when I think of my dad now, I'm not, my emotions that are my sadness is much less than, say, the memories that I've shared, that I'm happy I have, right? And all these positive things that I experienced with my father. Whereas, say, a year ago, when I would think of him, it was always sad, right? Because it was such a recent thing. And, you never know what's going to trigger those emotions, right? It could be something very obvious, like you see a picture of you and your dad, or it could be something very unexpected, right? So for instance, my dad was into old cars, like classic cars. And so anytime I saw a classic car, specifically a Corvette, like an old Corvette, I always thought of my dad. And so, you can't prepare for when you're going to see a Corvette, right? Or when someone's going to ask you if you want a piece of chicken or something, right? Whatever it might be for you and that person that you've lost. So that's going to happen, right? That's going to happen probably for the rest of your life, right? Now, what I did that helped me to heal and to really move on was I channeled my energy into things that I was passionate about and that made me feel good, right? And made me feel whole again, right? And so it wasn't always talking about it with people, but for me, it was being artistic and being creative, right? So when I look at those dark months, right, from when he passed away in August until, let's say, November, I wasn't doing the things that I love to do. I wasn't writing. I wasn't really dancing. I wasn't singing out loud, in the same way. I wasn't having fun and being who I am, right, of my authentic self. And when I started to heal was when I started to do those things again, right? And so dancing, that's what most of you know me from. With my students, we started doing that in about December in a more formal way on Dub Smash. And the more I did it, the more invested I became in my students. And the more that they showed me about dance and about Dub Smash and Instagram and all of these things, the happier I became and the more I was filled with happiness, right? And so when I remember I asked my mom, I was like, what would my dad say about all this, when I went viral? And we just kind of laughed because she was like, oh, he'd probably make the Palmer twins and their family a big pot of red beans and rice, right? Next time he went to Houston. And that's a happy memory. That's a happy thing. But it came from investing in the creative stuff, right? And so the other thing I did was I wrote more, right? So I went back to writing every day. I realized that's something I need to be whole. I need to write. I need to be creative, right? And so once I started doing those things, I began to feel less exhausted, less burnt out. I began to feel less depressed, right? And I was experiencing my grief in a different way. I was channeling the negative energy into something positive. And so this is just my experience. I know this might not help everyone, but I found that whenever I'm struggling, it's always good to just hear what other people have experienced and what other people are going through. And so I hope this helps. I think if I just gave one last thing, it's that it does get better. It's not always better, but you know, time does heal. You know, it's a saying, time heals everything. And there's a reason that saying exists, right? So give it time, find what you need to do, find your creative outlet, find your support system that's going to be there when you need it, and things will get better. Okay, that was episode 1 of Dear Dr. Boffone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. The success of this really relies on who's out there watching. And as far as I'm concerned, even if one person watches it and finds it useful, then it will have been worth it for me to do it. I'm forever grateful to this community. I'm forever grateful for everyone that has supported my work, right? My art, right? And my teaching and what my students and I are doing. We're having a great time, and I want to be able to give that back and pay it forward. So send any questions you have that you think might be good for Dear Dr. Boffone, and you will see me shortly.